Woohoo!
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Flashback 64, the chronological Nintendo 64 podcast. I'm Gooey, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, McKenna.
Hello.
And we're here for not a big episode, a gargantuan episode. Yeah. Or maybe not. It depends on how you look at things here. Maybe a tiny naked episode.
Yeah.
But we're here. We're talking about Rampage World Tour. So we moved on from one legendary game in Quake to another. Let's get in our guest. Joining us is, you know him, you've heard him, my brother, GollyRogers, aka Michael.
Hello.
Hey, Michael.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome to the show. Great to have you. I appreciate you coming on. We asked you we asked you today to come on the show. But I knew you would be down, and I knew you'd be ready for this.
I'm always ready to answer the call to action.
Oh yeah, we should do a call to action. If you're listening, go. Well, actually, let's do this. Let's promote something, because I think this episode doesn't come out till it's coming out in the middle of October. Ooh, spooky monsters, Quake, and then
scary.
It's thematic. One thing that's not scary though is that by the time this comes out, I think we're gonna have some bonus episodes up exclusively for patrons that involve you, Michael.
That's true. And my partner, Matt, as well.
Yes. And so basically the four of us got together to do some tabletop role-playing games together. We're calling it what the fuck are we calling it? 64-bit adventures. And we're Matt is running a game with three of us playing, and it's going to be set in the world of Super Mario 64.
I've been hard at work editing.
Michael is editing it and producing it and making it sound really cool. There's a lot of great sound effects and music and stuff. So it's just in general a lot of fun. And who knows? We've talked about the idea of, we could continue in that world. We could do other N64 based settings. We kind of want to see what people think about it. So go on over. You got to subscribe to our Millennium Star tier on Patreon, which is the $5 tier. But you also get like our bonus episodes where we rank the games and talk about movies and other stuff. We actually just released, at the time we're recording this, our ranking of Yoshi's Story. And we actually did that with Michael and Matt, and we also talked about like movies we saw this summer, like The Naked Gun. You guys told us a little bit about Superman and all that stuff. So
yeah, a little bit about the new Wes Anderson.
Yes, the Wes Anderson, and and we talked about going to see Sunset Boulevard as well.
Yeah.
Not a new summer movie, but an awesome one at that. So please go check out the patreon.com/flashback64. With that, we're going to jump into the game. But of course, first, we got to hit everyone with the flashback segment. And of course, we're moving forward from March 24th, 1998, which was when Quake came out, and we're moving ahead to just March 30th, 1998. We're not going to be moving very far from episode to episode now because there's a lot more games in 1998, which is great.
Yeah.
We get to vibe in the zone a little bit more and really get into it. So, as we've been saying in the last few episodes, the number one song has been "Getting Jiggy with It" by Will Smith, and it actually wraps up a 3-week run at number one, and then it transitions over to "All My Life" by Casey and JoJo, which takes the number one spot, which also a phenomenal track. Michael, do you have any memories? What do you think?
Well,
you get jiggy with it?
You know, I was probably 2.5 at this point, so
you weren't getting jiggy with it?
Who knows? You know, maybe that's when I was first starting to get jiggy with it.
The early stages,
early stages of jigginess.
I definitely, you know, I've talked about that, but all my life is another one of those songs. We're gonna see this a lot. Another one of those songs that's like you could throw it in the canon of like early songs I loved, because of course I was 8. I loved all the like popular, or actually I was 7. I loved all the like popular songs, and that was one that I really loved, and I honestly really do still. We were watching the video for it, and it was awesome, and it's just amazing harmonies, really catchy melody. I don't know, it really has stuck with. Do you like that song? Do you know it really?
No, not really. I think we're still.
I pray for someone like you.
I mean, I've heard it, but
and I thank God. Yeah, it's good. Sorry, I shouldn't be singing on the podcast.
I think we're probably about a year away from me knowing
reaching
a year
full
or two
memory
away from me knowing the songs that we're talking about. Other than like the huge songs.
Goo, we probably have time. You could take a couple minutes here to just kind of go through the whole lyrics with us.
Close to me, you're like my brother. Close to me, you're like my father. Okay, anyway, I'm so sorry. Number one album, Titanic, music from the motion picture, number one for 11 weeks. The Celine Dion record, we talked about it, it's number 2. Titanic, number 1 at the US box office for 15 straight weeks. And also a 1998 re-release of Grease hits number 2. So, you know, the nostalgia couldn't quite overtake Titanic, but I don't know, Michael. I don't know. I don't think you're a big Titanic head. We gotta ask everyone. You know, this is where we're at now.
You know, I'm gonna say it here, and it's gonna sound crazy. I don't think I've ever actually seen Titanic in full.
That's fair.
You know, a lot of people have said that.
Yeah. Who would have thought? People who are like, yeah, it makes sense. Well, I don't know. You should check it out. I think it's worth checking out. The only game that I could find that came out this time was for PS1, Need for Speed 3, Hot Pursuit. Okay, this might be a pretty worthless segment for the three of us in terms of commentary, but here's the sports corner. A lot of sports ball happened at this time. I'm gonna be one of those people. So March 27th, you had the largest draw in NBA history, which was the Bulls versus the Hawks in the Georgia Dome. 62,046 people. I guess, Michael, you might have some connection to that. Like, I don't know, the Chicago Bulls were like huge in our area when we were growing up.
I recognize the Bulls. I can say that much.
I know you watched Space Jam.
Yes, of course.
You can't lie about that. I was there.
I stole your Space Jam plate. I still have it.
We were talking about that. Yeah, what the fuck? To be fair, I sort of forgot it existed, but when you mentioned the Space Jam plate the other day, like I remember it exactly perfectly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I won it back.
Good luck.
Come on, Michael, it's game time. Get your Hanes on, lace up your Nikes, grab your Wheaties and your Gatorade, and we'll pick up a Big Mac on the way to the ballpark.
How about this? All this was on March 29th. How you're feasting if you like 3 completely different sports, and one of these isn't a sport, if depending on who you ask. But March 29th, this is the one. March 29th, WrestleMania 14 happened. This was main event: Stone Cold Steve Austin versus the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. Austin wins with interference from the baddest man on the planet, Iron Mike Tyson. This is now the start. This is the start of the truly the start of the Attitude Era. Let's just say, yeah, whatever. Also, the NCAA Women's Basketball Championship. Tennessee beat Louisiana Tech. It was a three-peat for them in an undefeated season. Hopefully that means something to someone. I just know the wrestling. March 29th, also the PGA Players Championship. The winner was Justin Leonard. So there you go. Golf, basketball, professional wrestling. And then the next day, the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Kentucky beats Utah. I'm sure someone out there that this is. Yeah, sorry, we're not the people for this, but I would, you know, we're not too far. We're only like a month or two away from some more basketball games, and a basketball game, and we've got some basketball heads that we're gonna have back on. So maybe we can figure out the significance of this. Golf, I don't know what to tell you. All I can say is I kind of think the Mike Tyson finish on the WrestleMania match was kind of weak. So
Austin, he got it! The starter! Mike Tyson in! Austin is the champion! Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold!
Hey everyone, my name's Darren Hupke. I'm a writer, publisher, and podcaster. My podcast is called Pixels and Polygons. Each week I sit down with a guest and ask one simple video game question. It's a random topic each week and it leads to a fun conversation. You can find it on your favorite podcast platform every Friday, and you can read more about it at pixelsandpolygons.net.
Rampage World Tour is a globe-trotting action game and sequel to arcade game Rampage. You'll take control of one of three monsters, former humans who were mutated into their current forms. Play as George the Gorilla, Lizzie the Lizard, or Ralph the Werewolf, and destroy cities across the world by climbing, punching, and stomping on them. If you become injured, you can heal by snacking on the human residents. While you'll start off in Illinois, traveling through US cities, you can collect flags that will send you around the world to cities like Paris, Tokyo, and Cairo. Collect power-ups to get the Hot Loogie or Death Breath, and consume purple ooze to mutate into an even more powerful monster. Play solo or with a friend and travel the globe in Rampage World Tour.
all right, so yeah, this was like you mentioned, it's a sequel to an arcade game, and it was an arcade game itself before it came to N64. It was originally released in 1997 for the arcade, and it was developed by the studio Game Refuge, which was made up of the original creators of the original Rampage, Brian, Colin, and Jeff Nauman. Sorry, I didn't get the pronunciation on that. And it was published by Midway, who's like our most prolific publisher. And then, yeah, it eventually came to N64, but it was also ported to PS1 in October 97, Saturn, November 97, Game Boy Color, December 98, which I think is fascinating. And it was done by Digital.
That's the one that had, I said I like the music.
Yes, that one had cool music. Very interesting port, just looking wise. And it was done by Digital Eclipse, who now we associate with just those great museum games. So that's cool to see, some of their work at this time. And then also it got released in the Midway Arcade Treasures 2 in 2003. And then it was also, you could get it in Rampage Total Destruction, which was a game released on GameCube, PS2, and Wii.
I actually had Total Destruction on GameCube.
You did? Okay.
Yes.
How was that?
It was fun. That's about it. As there's a weird plot to that game, which
weirder than this game.
A lot of the mutations is from if I remember correcting, drinking toxic soda in total destruction. So there's a little bit of weirdness there, but there's a lot of like collectible characters to play as in that one.
Okay, more than just the 3 basic ones.
A lot more than the 3.
So the N64 port that we said was March 30th, 98. That was done by Sapphire, who we're actually going to talk about them some more as we go through our chronology. But previous to this game, they had done various things, but they had done Wayne Gretzky and the NHLPA All-Stars for Super Nintendo, Nestor's Funky Bowling for the Virtual Boy, and James Bond 007 for the Game Boy, which we also plan to cover someday. I'm pretty interested in that. McKenna, let's start with you today. This is one I know your history with this doesn't predate our time together on the show necessarily, but it is a game that I know you've played, not like before the show.
Yeah, we've played some Rampage at the arcade together.
Yeah, and we've done this one more than the original, I would say.
Yeah, probably. I don't know. I don't know that I could tell you which ones we played at the arcade, because I don't think we played them for like that long.
Yeah, which maybe we will get into.
Because I'm not sure I remember going international. I definitely remember Illinois and Midwest.
Yes, because of course, the developers, a lot of Midway, is they're Chicago based. But yeah, that's definitely one part of the charm of the game is like you go international, but there's very, very specific Illinois locations compared to what you would choose for the rest of the world.
Why are we starting in Peoria?
Peoria, Kankakee. In the original, it ends in Plano. Just very super Illinois places, deep cuts almost. Michael,
yeah,
I know you were asked last minute to be on the show, but I know you have a background with this game. So what's your history with it?
Now, remind me if I'm wrong on the location or not, or if you even know. But in the village we lived in when I was very young, there was like
and it was a village.
Yeah, it was
technically a village,
a literal village. You could walk across it in under like a half an hour. But there was a restaurant, like the only restaurant in this entire village.
Yep.
And inside that restaurant, there was an arcade machine for a Rampage World Tour, which
that is correct.
Okay,
yep,
okay,
that was there.
We both remember this. Yeah, that's where my experience with World Tour was.
Yes, I'm glad you remembered that. That's what I have like, because we grew up when we were growing up. Like, we were in a rural area, and it was still like, you could still go to like maybe the bowling alley a town over would have a couple arcade games, but there weren't like a ton of arcades really, and you weren't like finding a lot of arcade machines out in the wild compared to, maybe if you traveled like even 5 years earlier or something. But I was always so fascinated with like that one cabinet in this and this restaurant. It's like continually like reopening and closing down, like to this day. Like it's been a few years. Have we been in there? The one restaurant, McKenna? Have we gone in there? In the town, the small town? We're not gonna say the town.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
We don't have to hide this town like it's a hidden secret.
We're not there. None of us are there. But like this place is like constantly reopening, and it just serves the same gruel, and it sucks. And
I'm not surprised. I'm too young to really remember what the food was like there. But the fact that a restaurant was open in this town at all is amazing. Like, this is
a miracle.
This is a village. This is by all definitions a village.
There there's not even a gas station there.
There's no gas station. You have
like
to,
if you need gas and you're there, you're
you
fucked.
have to drive like what 10 minutes out to a different 10-15 minutes out to a different town. I don't know how far.
Yeah,
just for a gas station.
Basically. There's no. I don't know if you remember this. There was a convenience store.
Yes,
for a brief.
I remember that. Okay, I remember that convenience store because I remember at an age when I was first getting like money, quarters, and stuff from our parents. I went into that convenience store and I bought Austin Powers on DVD with like quarters.
Whoa, God, I don't even remember like. It being around long enough for there to be DVDs, but I guess that makes sense.
Groovy,
baby.
When did DVDs come into existence?
1997.
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah. Did we talk about that?
We did talk about that. Happened on the course of our show, but I don't think I remember when we got a DVD player actually, and like the first movie that we got was it was that movie. It was called like Little Vampire or something with is his name Jonathan Lipnicki? You know that the little kid is he the little kid in Jerry Maguire?
Yeah.
What year did that come out? Sorry, this is so far from what the game is, but like we'll get into it. But we
have so much we have to go over.
That came in 2000 because I feel like we weren't like when DVDs came out, like it was expensive, so by 2000 I think we could get one. So okay, so I have a story related to this game, and it also it actually occurred in 2001. So Michael, you'll probably remember this, and I've told this to people, and I've usually told it in relation to another game, but I loved this game back in the day. I think it might be because there was definitely other arcade games I had played, some of the classics and stuff, and maybe some of the not so classics, but I think I loved Rampage World Tour when I was a kid because it was one of the few arcade games. Also, it just has such a, it kind of jumps out at you. Like it has a distinct style, it's very expressive and goofy and silly, and it's immature in a lot of ways, in a way that a kid would love. So I loved this game, and I loved the game, and I loved the Nintendo 64, and we would rent games for it all the time. We talked about this on our bonus episode with Yoshi's Story, Michael. Like I think that was one we rented. Yeah. And so I remember on my 11th birthday in June of 2001, this is only months before 9/11, which is today of us recording. Coincidentally, I didn't want to like really linger on that, but we also are coincidentally recording
Rampage,
an episode about. Yeah. Anyway, this is an accident. June 2001. It was my birthday, and I got to rent a game for my birthday. And I wanted this, I got this game because I loved it so much. And you could play, we could play together. And that day, I was hanging out with, I don't know if you remember, actually you would remember my friend Tyler. His name was Tyler. I'm not going to say his last name. Because actually you would remember him because his older brother, Zach, I believe, babysat you. Is that right?
I vaguely familiar. I don't.
Okay.
There's only
okay.
There's only one babysitter who I can really remember.
The neighbor.
Yeah, the neighbor
who had one of the other Bond games for N64. We'll talk about that years from now. But okay. Anyway, around this time, this is like what middle. I was turning 11, so I was like middle school something. At this time, I was like. There's a couple different phases growing up where you have different best friends. At the time, this kid, Tyler, was my best friend. And the last time I checked in on this guy, it was not good. I do not like what he is all about. So let's just put that out there. But I would hang out with him a bunch. We would play. I remember playing Battletoads on the NES with him a bunch too. Like they had an NES, and we do that a lot. But so anyway, for my birthday, I was hanging out with him, and he's like, hey, today we're going out to, it's the middle of the summer. We're going out to my stepdad's junkyard to hang out. Do you want to come? And this is a really exciting thing to get to do when you live. Yeah, like, hell yeah. The junkyard, there's a whole bunch of cool crap out there.
Yeah.
Now, to me, I actually wanted to play Rampage World Tour, but, I wanted to do the cool thing. So
can't
here we go.
Pass up junkyard.
So, okay. And before we continue, I'm going to warn you, this is a violent story. So just skip ahead a few minutes if you don't want to hear this. So we go out there, and they're like, we get out there, and it's me, and he has two younger siblings as well. He has an older brother, but he has two younger siblings. At their house in town, not out in the junkyard, but at their house in town, they had this dog named... Okay, what's happening. I knew
it's hit me. It slowly started to dawn on me what story this is.
And look, this ties in if we want to talk about... Anyway, they kept this dog Rascal that they just kept in a fucking cage in their backyard. He never got to come inside, and he was out no matter what, in the middle of winter, whatever, the elements. He was always out there, and even if you were just like walking by, like there was like an alleyway or out front, and he saw you, he was rampaging. He would just go ape shit, and it was scary. He had like a deep like, and I love dogs. I love dogs, but they did not treat this dog well. Let's just say. So out on the junkyard, they let Rascal go nuts. That's his domain. So we pull up, and they say, okay, if Rascal tries to jump up on you, just tell him to get down. I'm like, okay, no. Sure. I'm 11. I'm a little baby. But yeah, okay. And first thing his little siblings do when they get out of the car is they just start playing. They're kids, they just start screaming their heads off, they're chasing each other and screaming, and this sets the dog off. So I get out of the car. I'll spare you the details, but this dog just goes to town on me. It like jumps up and knocks me to the ground, and it takes a big bite out of the back of my leg. I've still got scars from it. And I was like within an inch of death. Like he was going for my neck, and his owner, my friend's stepdad, grabbed the dog. And we live, as I mentioned, we already live in the middle of nowhere, much like some of the Illinois levels of this game. And then on top of that, we're outside of the village. You know what I mean? So there's no way to like quickly get an ambulance or anything like that. You know what I mean? So they throw me in the car. They throw his little sister in the back of the car. She's screaming, and I'm like covered in blood. And I turn towards her. This does not help, but I was like, shut up, please shut up. But there's like blood all over my face or whatever. So she sees my face, and she just screams even more. And then I'm like holding I'm like holding a rag on my leg, and I won't describe it, but like to try to stop the bleeding, And they first drive into town to like go to our house, Michael, and like tell my parents. And so I'm like sitting in the car as they're like going in to talk to them, and I'm like, oh my God, am I gonna die? Like, what's going? I'm like waiting, and then finally they're like, okay, yeah, we'll just drive him to the hospital, because it's just as quick to just drive to the hospital. And much like a gas station, there's no hospital in our town, and there's no hospital the town over. So we had to drive, it's like a half-hour drive to the hospital. Yeah. So anyway, brutal story, but then I had a lot of time to play Rampage World Tour because I got 25 stitches in the leg, and I wasn't very mobile. You know what I mean? So
I don't think I have ever heard the full story of that. I mean,
really?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't think we've ever, because when it happened, you said you were 11. I was probably about 6 or 7 at that time, depending on the month.
Yeah, you don't want to freak a little kid out with that, I guess.
So that was never fully explained to me, all the details. I just knew that you were bit by a dog and you got a bunch of stitches, and then that's where I learned that what stitches were, because I didn't know.
Me too, really.
I didn't know what they were, and I think for a little while after that, I was scared of dogs. But I mean, I love dogs.
Me too. I love them. I remember when our dad remarried, and our stepmom had this big boxer, and we had a big old. Well,
lab.
We had a big fat black lab guy who just lays about. But she had like this big boxer lab mix, and like there was definitely like a thought of it, and it was not much longer after this. I believe that they definitely had to like consider how to introduce this dog to me, and I remember like I remember like the day and the place that I met this dog named Lucy, who was an absolute sweetie, and I love, but like that moment, that day I met her, I was so freaked out. And like, even to this day, like if I see a big dog, I do get like really freaked out. But what's funny is like later that day, I was just like sitting and like hugging the dog constantly, you know, and like I was just so in love with the dog. So
Lucy,
it's just like
Lucy was a very good dog. But same. I was like a little afraid of Lucy when I first met her. Just
she
because
also had
because I knew what happened to you know.
Yeah.
Hello, we are Kirby Conversations, a podcast on Kirby, along with other adjacent subjects like Smash Brothers, HAL Laboratory, and other related Nintendo games.
In each episode, we take an in-depth, well-researched look at a Kirby topic, drawing on our decades of experience playing Kirby games, creating Kirby-related content, and working in and around the video game industry. I'm Sean Douglas. I'm a theater and video game journalist.
And my name's Bridget. I'm an online Kirby commentator and collector.
Our team also includes photographer and Nintendo ambassador Kai Captain Dangerous Parker, and Gigi, the editor-in-chief of Wick Kirby. Join us for deep dives into Kirby's history, interviews with industry professionals, and even inside looks at Nintendo, as together we explore all things Kirby and HAL Laboratory. You can find Kirby Conversations on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
So I don't know why. I guess that's like my connection. I still connect this game to that, as well as Majora's Mask, because we got like not to rent, but got around the time. So like it was actually kind of a great summer for me, because like by that point I was more of an indoor kid, so it was like an excuse to like, well, I can't walk around because I don't want to break the stitches, so I'm gonna sit inside and game.
Yeah, I didn't realize how close to Rampage that all happened. What I remember about renting Rampage, and I think this was the first Rampage for this. I remember looking at games, and then I picked up Conker's Bad Fur Day. I don't know when that. I don't quite remember when that came out, but I was told.
Yeah, it was a later era, and
I was told no, that is not a game we can get.
No, yeah, that was a little bit more mature.
Yeah, a little bit more.
I don't know. Rampage, I think, got more of a pass because it's like there is some. It's toned down a bit on the console releases, but it's overall like silly enough that it's not too quote unquote inappropriate for kids, but it makes you think it is when you're a kid, you know.
Right. No monsters hanging out in boobs.
Yes, at the end of the arcade version, the I forgot her name. Betty Veronica, the busty scientist. When she tries to like make an escape, the monsters kind of crawl in, and they're small. They get shrunk down, and one of them, as you mentioned,
she tries to destroy them, but she miniaturizes them instead.
And one of them crawls in her tits. So anyway, I'm sorry I told that story, but it's just so tied to my like memory of this game. And honestly, I think we'll get into it, McKenna, with it's not much different than when we play at the arcade. The game itself, it's fun. It is obviously fun to be a big monster that destroys buildings, and we love watching. We love monster movies and stuff like that. And it's fun to do that, especially with two of your friends. But the game is not that fun for very long. Like, it just gets old, right?
Yeah, and there's like 0 stakes. You die, but you can just continue immediately.
Yeah, obviously in the arcade, it's like your quarter is at stake, and that's the appeal to me. Like, a lot of arcade games I love are based around that, but this game, it just doesn't feel like it lacks. Like, I feel like nothing ever clicks with me. Like, I don't ever feel like, oh, I could do this better, you know?
Yeah. Like when you get that screen at the end that's like totally destroyed, or what does it give a percent? Is that what it does?
Yeah, something like that.
I'm like, I don't know how.
Well, that's like the amount. They base it on the amount of buildings. So there's sort of like a hidden timer, basically, and if you don't destroy all the buildings, yeah.
I've found when I was playing that the quickest way to just destroy buildings is to get at the very top and just start punching the top of the building, and it crumbles.
Yeah, and when you do that, you'll just take a lot of bullets and stuff like that, and you will eventually your health will wear down and you'll die, but then you can just restart.
Yeah.
But I have seen people playing it where it's like, okay, there's like food out there, and there's supposed to be like a push and pull of resources and stuff like that, and I just can never really I never really lock in with that.
I think there's just so much going on with the game, especially
immediately.
Yeah, immediately, and there's like 129 levels, and in the first few, things are just flying at you, and you just kind of die like that, and I can't really tell what's going on. I know there's tanks in the game, and they will send you flying when you get hit by one of their shots, so it's impossible to like control sometimes.
Yeah, and there's some little bits of like things you can do. You can ride those tanks. You can ride some of the ships, and they'll destroy buildings and stuff for you. And again, there's the food, but there's just it doesn't feel like, it just feels like too chaotic, which I want there to be chaos in the game, but it's too, you're just like constantly like there's bullets coming from every direction.
It feels like it was really made to be like a quarter eater.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I do feel that way, and I feel like that term gets kind of erroneously put on some games, but I don't know. I guess I didn't look at like, I'm wondering if you can find people who've done this like no damage or something, but I highly doubt that is that doable? I should have.
I don't know. That does not sound doable for me personally.
Yeah.
You'd have to have some kind of insane skill level to do it. I mean, with that being said, if you're not playing on like arcade and losing a bunch of quarters, it is a silly game, and despite everything going wild and hard to follow, I found enjoyment in it.
Yeah, like there is, like, being a big monster and like smashing the buildings, like that is fun. Does it appeal to your what about you? What about that like appeals to you, McKenna? Like, I know you love Godzilla.
I do love Godzilla. I don't know if there's a connection between the Godzilla and this.
You don't get that at all, like just.
I mean, yeah. There's like
obvious.
A city destruction, but I don't feel like it activates the same part of my brain.
Okay.
it's just kind of like, oh, I am kind of, well, I take damage, but because I can just immediately respawn, I'm just kind of this all-powerful dude who can keep throwing punches, and that's fun for a little. I like climbing the buildings and punching out every single window and eating the humans.
I mean, who doesn't like to eat the people?
And just like seeing the different levels. A lot of them are very similar.
Yeah.
A lot of them don't resemble the city that they're supposed to take place in, but sometimes it's fun to see a pyramid or a pagoda.
They do like the bare minimum to kind of like stretch it out, you know, like they'll have like these assets they'll reuse, and then like places where you would expect it or like hope it's there, they will throw something in. Like when you're in Chicago or whatever, you'll get like the same skyline, but then they'll throw in like the Sears Tower, or if you're in Seattle,
like a beach or lake scene.
Yeah, there was
sometimes it's a little
palm trees.
You know, they had the Eiffel Tower in Paris.
If you're in Seattle, you'll get 2 Space Needles. It does though. It's like a little stretch thin, but I feel like it's enough to justify the places. But the fact that the gameplay is just too. Our shout out to Andre from Fine Time. He referred to the gameplay as like shallow, and that's kind of how I feel. Like it doesn't feel like there's enough going on to justify its like entire length. You know what I mean? Like it feels like maybe if it was shorter and it was a bit more interesting, that would justify it. Like apparently the original Rampage, I remember playing it. We played it in prep. There's no kick button. That's really the only I think big innovation here is like you can kick now, but otherwise the gameplay feels like it doesn't evolve, and they don't introduce much like to it. Like there's you mentioned some of the things you can pick up, but they don't introduce enough to make that last for the entire length of the game and like keep you engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me to me it's a worse case. But it reminds me of kind of how we were with Robotron. Whereas like that game is at least like fun, and you can put it down and come back to it, and it's fun, you know.
And it's got a little more variation going on.
Yes, definitely. Like, I mean, this you have different enemy types, like, and probably a similar variety, but like, yeah, it doesn't feel that much different. Like when they introduce something new, it just feels more. It's like it just gets crazier and more chaotic.
Yeah,
I have been watching a no damage run. It's a tool assisted run. No, but
okay.
It does exist.
Okay. So it's theoretically possible then.
It makes it look like the earlier levels are more manageable. Like, oh, there's not really that many guys. I come from like I played through the whole game for this, and I just by the end there's just like 20 guys constantly shooting you, like 30 helicopters or whatever.
Yeah.
So it, you know.
And this game has very little plot, but I want to talk about a little bit of the plot that does exist.
Yes, please.
Specifically, well, I mean, the plot is that the monsters are all destroying Scum Lab facilities because they're the ones who experimented on them and transformed them into what they are. And so that the idea of the game is you're going around destroying all these places, and somehow that equates to these are labs that are being destroyed. It seems like there's also a lot of civilian buildings, but
well, yeah, you do straight up eat people as well.
You know,
it's a very like nihilist, you know.
You know, there's
which I'm fine. Like that's,
you know,
sick.
I'd like to think of the trio here, George, Lizzie, and Ralph, as like really morally gray figures here.
Yeah, definitely. They're complicated figures.
Very complicated. I just want to jump to the last few levels of the game here in the plot, and these.
Did you play through the whole game?
I played through like about 30 levels, and okay. I got to the point.
Good.
I got to the point where I was like, okay, how many levels are there? Looked it up, saw 129. I was like, I'm just gonna watch the end of this. I'm gonna watch somebody's video on the end of this.
Good. Okay. I wanted to make sure I didn't. I asked you today to play the game, and I was like, play it. You can play it for like 15 minutes if you like.
I played it for like maybe a half hour before I was like, okay, I get the game. But the last few levels, the CEO Eustace, by the way, cool name, Eustace Demonic. He
kind of a sketchy name in general, and what he named his company Scum Labs.
Yeah, so like these monsters are destroying all of his facilities, and they're on the way to his moon base. However, how they get there, I don't know. They're giant monsters. But what is insane is this CEO, this man, decides to turn himself into a monster to fight them, and you can see him like moving around there in the last couple of levels is like a big fleshy monster guy, and
it's nasty. Yeah.
I don't see where his mindset is. That feels like it's like a Resident Evil villain kind of insaneness. You know?
I mean, that could be what it is.
I'm gonna turn myself into a giant monster just so I can.
It's a last resort situation. Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned how in the one game, like they have like they drink the soda, and in this, wasn't it like, are there like experiments or what was it? Why were they transformed? I already forget.
Yeah.
Should we pull up the manual?
I don't think it says in the world tour because they're already mutated at this point.
Because I remember
the original that they were.
Oh, well, see,
mutated.
No. So it's continuation. Because in the original, like everyone has a different story. Like one person ate like a hot dog that was mutated. Like they each have a different thing.
Yeah. I know we're talking about world tour, but just to jump to Total Destruction for a second,
please.
Yeah. The plot in that is that this company, like Slum Labs, I think, release a soda, like a slum soda, and people start drinking it, and they all start turning into these giant monsters. So that's kind of the plot of that game, is a bunch of people getting soda highs and destroying things. I know the Vern, VERN, which is the creature you transform into in World Tour. In Total Destruction, he's his own character because they have a bunch of just giant animal monsters, and they kind of put him in his own character slot.
Yeah, and I think we'll get to it eventually, but there is a sequel to this on N64, Universal Tour, and I think there are more monsters added to that as well. McKenna, you've got the lore?
Yes. Ralph is the one who ate a hot dog that had an unknown food additive.
That's perfect for Chicago, you know.
George, the gorilla, used experimental vitamins. And Lizzie, the lizard, swam in a lake contaminated with radioactive waste.
Okay. Well, that's perfect. I feel like I like those. I like the idea of that. I obviously feel like the idea of like an evil company that's like, you know, polluting in the world and destroying the world. That's it's very fitting. It's a good storyline, you know, that always works for me in a game. And like the tone, like generally the tone of the game kind of works for me. It's fun. You know, obviously some of the like, ooh, the sexy doctor, you know, it's a little you know, whatever. But I think and I will say too, like obviously some of the with the theming, like sometimes when you go to a level and the theme, we've talked about how they reuse a lot of assets. It's either like sometimes it's a little too, like I said, stretched thin, or other times it's a little too like that might be racist. You know, some of the places you go and like the way they're represented. You know, just probably a little bit over the line with some of the things they have. It's not so in your face compared to like Clay Fighter is or something, but so I like the idea of the game. I feel like I like the whole story behind the game. I sort of respect the people who made it and everything, because I think it's cool. Like the way the original came about is interesting. Like they, you know, it was cool for them, you know, to come up with this way in the original game to like, you know, with the technology they have to like not simulate, but, you know, represent like a building kind of collapsing in on itself. Like they kind of realized like, oh, we could do this like with the animation, like have the building collapse down and like we can make like the dust come up and it's like especially like looking back at the original from like the 80s, it's like looks very cool. It's very impressive. And I think like this maintains that a little bit. Like it looks neat and it's like it's a fun novelty.
Yeah, there is for sure a lot of fun little animations, like when you get burned and you turn into like complete ash, or when you get zapped, the little skeleton shows up. It's definitely something a kid in 1997 playing on the arcade would think was just awesome.
I agree. And I think I like this is something again that kind of ties to the original. One, I kind of think I might be into the original a little bit more. It's a little bit slower paced, so I feel like I can absorb what's going on a little bit better. And it's also one screen, like it's just like you're not scrolling, so I feel like it's a bit more classic arcade. Like I feel like that you could take in. But one element that they have in that game that is here is, you know, obviously you can play multiplayer and you can play cooperatively, but also you can fight each other.
Yeah.
And at the end of the level, you get a score. So to me, that is where like this game does not lack fun entirely. You know what I mean? Like I feel like you can, if you've got a group of 3 people and you just want to go in there and you kind of want to see who can destroy the city more effectively. It's kind of got the like when we play Four Swords or Four Swords Adventures with our friends at the marathon, like that competitive cooperative vibe. Like that is fun.
That's something I was going to bring up because when you play by yourself, you know, it's very hard to understand what's going on or feeling like you're accomplishing anything. But I remember when we played on arcade, you know, just beating each other up for no reason, it kind of turns into like a different game entirely. Like it's some kind of pseudo fighter.
We were just talking about that in our last episode on Quake. And I guess we should mention it while you're here, because we were playing through that cooperatively, but we played with friendly fire on, and we've referred to you multiple times as our agent of chaos, Michael.
I'm known to be a little chaotic.
And yes, in that, like, we would have deathmatch break out in a cooperative level. So I definitely think that I could see, like, if the 3 of us were able to like play together, like if that could ever happen, like we were there and we could stream it that way and see, and like, you know, do best of 5 or whatever, and see, because that adds something to it. When you're playing single player and you die and you can just come back, it feels like there's not any, like, it does feel like there's no stakes. But when you have like, oh, I need to like do better regardless of my health, like I need to get that higher score than McKenna or Michael, like that could make it fun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about, I did like when you turn into Vern and you can just destroy everything.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's very satisfying.
Yeah, and you're just like flying around.
And it's just kind of like just cutting through the buildings. Yeah.
Yeah.
What does Vern stand for again?
Vile entity. I actually don't remember.
Hang on, I want to figure that
look
out.
that up. Look that up.
Look that up real quick. Vern stands for violently enraged radioactive nemesis. But
Okay.
apparently, this says here it was retconned in Rampage Total Destruction so that his birth given name was actually Vern. And I don't know why it describes a birth given name. As far as I'm aware, in Total Destruction they drink these sodas and become the giant monsters. Are the people is
yes
somebody named Vern?
Yes,
okay.
Yeah, that's because we haven't really talked about maybe we should talk about our protagonists a little bit. They do have like Christian names. There's
Yes.
George is the ape, Lizzie is the lizard, and Ralph is the wolf. And I presume that's their God-given name before they transform, right?
That would make sense.
That's what I assumed. In the movie aren't they like animals before they get mutated instead of humans?
Yes, maybe. Okay, here's our section where we talk about the film starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
We haven't had many games with
movie adaptations. Have we not? Mario,
Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat. We talked a bit about those. Michael, have you seen the Rampage movie?
No, I just the trailers, and I as much as I have fond memories of Rampage, the movie didn't call out to me.
I saw it in a packed theater. The kids loved it. Like, it was families with their kids, and they were loving it. And then years later, I watched it again. And you know what? I thought it was okay at the time when I saw it. I was starting to sour on The Rock's movie career. This came out in a time, this was also around the time he did San Andreas, another disaster movie, which...
Is this a helicopter pilot one?
Yes.
This
he's a helicopter. Oh,
I know in San Andreas.
Yes.
There is.
I don't think no, he's not a helicopter pilot in Rampage. He works at the Ape. He knows George. He's friends with George.
Right.
And then not long after that, or maybe it was a few years later, there was the movie that was like Die Hard Skyscraper, but it was like but bigger. And all these movies are all the same to me, and they all suck. And rewatching it, I was like, this sucks, and he's boring. And his movies are boring. He's in some great movies, but a lot of his output has been boring. And didn't we watch Rampage together?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what'd you think?
It was a Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson movie.
They do go to Chicago in the end, which I think is appropriate.
I mean, that's about as much as I could expect a review for that movie.
It's just got the story could be whatever, but it's got the thing of a lot of modern CG based movies where at some point they do a 9/11 to one of the towers and it gets all dusty.
Uh-huh.
And then the rest of the movie, it's just really dusty and brown and gray to obscure, to make it look more
Scum Labs
realistic
in the movie.
It wasn't Scum Labs. There were some I forgot who played them, but there's a brother and sister. I think they were were they brother and sister? There were two
I don't remember.
There was a dude and a lady, and they were scummy people. But in this, it's just they're all animals, but it's CRISPR. They get isn't CRISPR, it's a genetic it's what is that technology? Whatever that technology is, CRISPR technology. They get genetically mutated from this technology, and there's a wolf and there's a lizard that gets it, but in terms of George, it's an actual primate that The Rock trains in this ape sanctuary. And so he teams up with George to fight, and they do like a Godzilla versus King Kong situation in Chicago. And yeah, it's not a good movie. I would not recommend people watch it, but you could go listen to the virtual theater episode on it where Andy and I talked about it. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. Not very good. Let's see. Anything else about there's the little segments when you hit the flag and you go international. There, you fly on these little planes, and there's a pretty bogus sort of little mini game, but it's kind of cute, I guess.
Oh yeah,
there are like some random things like there's like a hot air balloon in a level that you can jump in front of to get more points.
Yeah. They'll do that with different things.
There was like
There'll
an
be
eagle
like
for one of them.
an eagle, a satellite. Like later they introduce like it is fun. Like there is some fun in the chaos. Like when you're like, okay, now all of a sudden there's like the robot from RoboCop and there's like UFOs, but it never feels like, I never feel like, okay, I've got like a strategy for taking this thing down. Like in fact, I usually just try to avoid them because they're annoying.
Yeah, by level 5, I was directly just hopping on buildings and punching the top of them and jumping from one to the other, ignoring everything else.
Yeah, that's where I think, again, it would be more fun with more players and you're trying to get score, because like, yeah, you want to punch the things to open up the building to actually get what's in them.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're just like, I guess I'm just trying to get through. I definitely had a chunk of the game where I was just like punching through, the tops of the buildings to get through it. So, but yeah, I learned a lot about international places, like that in Egypt, there's like hundreds of pyramids in the background. And yeah, we talked about the pagoda in Tokyo. It's like taller than any skyscraper.
Yeah. There's also just like skyscrapers everywhere.
Yeah. No matter where you are, it's basically, sometimes you'll be in a town and it's like, oh, there's some corn. And you're like, okay, I guess they got, especially like some of the Illinois locations.
Yeah, that's what I remember.
I did like you could pick the color also of your creature. That was kind of nice. Do you have a preferred, Michael, who's your preferred creature to play as?
I was playing as a Lizzie.
Lizzie, okay.
That's who I was playing as.
Lizzie, okay. I was George, I guess, but it was kind of in the spirit of Donkey Kong.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could see that original concept of the game of like coming up with like a fun animation for destroying a tower, like there's a spark of creativity there that I like, and I feel like, I don't know, I'm not saying they should bring Rampage back, but there's something about like, I love games where you can like break and smash things. Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'll
say it, bring Rampage back. Okay. I mean, no, but really though, on a serious note, I do think Rampage conceptually is kind of a unique, fun game. There are ways that you could bring Rampage back and kind of modernize it or at least to make it, a little less chaotic. But honestly, I don't remember how things felt in Total Destruction because I was young when I played it. I can't determine how games were then, but I think Rampage is one of those series that they could do more with.
What do you think? Like the average? What was like the reception to Total Destruction?
I don't know.
Not very good. Kind of like a 5 or a C+ type game, which I mean that's probably the same of this sort of. I don't know. I wonder. I don't know. I doubt we'll see Rampage return, but
sure. You could maybe you could turn it into like a kaiju battle game or something.
Yeah, and there we were actually watching. There's like a video we were watching that showed different games that were where you play as like a monster destroying cities, and there was one that looked. I'll have to look it up. there was one that was cool where you were kind of fighting in a town in like it was not isometric, but it was kind of looking down from the side, and you were sort of fighting people, but like there were buildings there and stuff. Like I feel like there's definitely something to it that could they could bring back. Yeah, Rampage World Tour also was kind of had a mixed response. So, except Jeff Gersman, who highly recommended the game due to its new gameplay tricks and larger levels. Wait, am I looking at the right game? Yeah, I am. Okay.
Larger levels.
Yeah, I mean they scroll. Yeah,
they scroll.
Someone else, who else said, Sega Saturn magazine, they said the coin op was great for a laugh for about 10 minutes or so, but the lack of variety in level design and the shallow nature of the gameplay meant that it soon grew quite tiresome, which I think is a fair response to the game. So I will say it kind of shows even when you just start up the game, like the menu just it feels like they just had to slap a menu on it to get into it. But otherwise, because, in the arcade, it's just sort of like you get, the idle screen there, the preview screen, but like the menu itself, it's like, it's all just like this one thing, and it's just on like the static image, and it's like, it feels a little like, it feels a little lower tier,
Yeah.
Not quite a great presentation.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those games that worth checking out with a friend, but it's not one that is you're missing much if you don't play it.
Yeah, like if you're feeling like I want to keep playing to see what else there is to see, you can stop after a little bit. I will say I got a couple thrills, like seeing some of the places, and like every once in a while I discover a little tiny tidbit, but it was few and far between, and not really it was not really worth the time necessarily. Even like as a side act, I was often doing it while watching something else, typically wrestling, and even as a side activity, it was not that enjoyable. You know what I mean? So yeah, definitely you gotta play it with a friend. So
I like the concept of traveling around the world.
Of course, yeah.
I like that in video games.
I think if
it is a little shallow on that part though.
Yeah, I feel like if obviously, okay, and I think, a little bit it's like I definitely understand the concept of it as an arcade game where it's just like we just need a ton of levels and like we need the difficulty to just increase. And maybe we could say maybe it was a quarter muncher, maybe it wasn't balanced, that like, or maybe it's too hard. But like I understand that concept, and so I sort of understand. Okay, when it gets ported, they didn't do a bunch to it to like make it like super much different. They just kind of slapped together and cool. It's cool. You can continue infinitely, but if you were to start from like ground zero,
do you want to redo that term there?
If you were to start from the drawing board, I could see like a game where you're like, maybe there's similar to what we were saying with Robotron, maybe half the amount of levels, and like maybe we put a little bit more into it. Maybe it's not, maybe we start small and it's like a smaller region, or, like just specific cities across the world, like to, maybe you don't need
like 10 Illinois cities.
Or maybe you set it in Illinois, maybe you go to Peoria, you hit up...
Make them more distinct.
Carbondale. Maybe a little bit you go to Gary, Indiana. Like, that was cool, but yeah.
Make Rampage a fighting game where the characters are the giant monsters and the buildings are obstacles in the fighting arena.
Yeah, maybe you could like grab parts of them, and
you could punch through windows and eat.
Yeah, you could recharge your health.
Climb to the top of a building and then jump down.
Oh,
do a big kick
on another monster.
What if it's like a wrestling game, but like giant monsters, and the ropes, the corners of the rings are buildings?
If you could like throw like That's what they needed. They needed to add a grapple button to where you could throw the people into the buildings. Like, that would be great.
Now, an important announcement from Rampage. You heard it. Rampage World Tour from Midway is now available for Nintendo 64. Now 1 to 3 players can destroy the world while eating anything they can find.
Do you find yourself playing older games and wishing that there were new discussions about those games? Enter Tales from the Backlog. Hi, I'm Dave Jackson, and on each episode, I'm joined by a guest to break down those games that may be stuck in your ever-expanding backlog. Each episode looks at one game in depth, focusing on mechanics, story, music, and other aspects with no spoilers until a clearly marked spoiler wall in the middle. If you've played the game, go ahead and climb that spoiler wall and enjoy in-depth story discussions, and if not, jump out when we warn you and maybe go play that game for yourself. We have over 100 episodes in the feed, everything from Disco Elysium to Tunic to discussion episodes about how to get into horror games, and if games actually need to be fun, or if they have more to offer. I guarantee that there's something in there for everybody. Once again, that's Tales from the Backlog, available wherever your podcasts are found.
It's, whatever, check it out if you're interested. We have some history with it, so I'm a little biased, but I think there's a little bit of fun to be had, and it's an interesting game. Our next game we're going to be covering, which I'm much more excited about, and Michael, you played this with us, 1080 Snowboarding.
Radical.
Very radical. Yeah, we'll save it for the episode, but I've actually been getting into that one a little bit more, so pretty excited about that. Michael, thank you for joining us last minute. Anything you want to promote?
I'll promote, the GollyRogers Twitch. I stream sparingly, usually on Sundays, but you can find me there sometimes. But also, again, I assume it's out by now. The 64-bit adventures. Check that out. Had a lot of fun with it. And I think it's pretty good, pretty great, pretty neat.
Yeah, we should say you play a Lakitu.
I do.
I play a Toad. And McKenna plays a Babam Buddy. So there's a little teaser for you. Who doesn't want to hear that? All right, McKenna, great job today.
Great job, Goo.
Yeah.
Hey, great job, McKenna.
Thank you. Oh, we've all done well. We're a real Ralph, Lizzie, and George, though you guys are going to have to fight over who gets to be Lizzie. You can check all our stuff out, flashback64.com, our website that Michael maintains, and it looks beautiful and immaculate. It's a wonderful website.
I'd like to plug that too.
Check out the website. Click on that N64 Games tab. It's probably the best part of it. Yeah. Also, you can check out the other shows in the Soundstone Podcast Network at soundstone.network. Some great stuff there. Otherwise, we will see you in a few weeks for 1080 Snowboarding. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
The Zelda Cast is getting even bigger. Join us on patreon.com/SPNet for access to the Zelda Cast XL, the new bonus show featuring podcasting's dynamic duo, Andy Spiteri and Gooey Fame.
We're taking a new approach to do our bonus shows and giving you more of what you love, letting you get more involved in the show itself. Each month, we'll have some fun and play a few games, answer some Patreon questions, and discuss some Zelda topics on a more personal level.
Consider joining for only $4 a month, and you can ask us questions about Zelda or anything else on your mind. Let us know what topics and segments you want us to discuss, and be a part of an amazing community of Zelda fans hosted by two best friends.
The ZeldaCast XL is taking everything you love about the show and ramping it up even more. So come and hang out with us, only on patreon.com/spnet.